So this happened about 3 weeks ago, and I still haven't fully shaken it off. My name's Carl. I'm 35, recently divorced, and had to move back into the city after things fell apart with my wife. I landed a job working the late-night shift at a 7-Eleven in downtown LA. Not the nicest part, I'll be real with you. The area was rough and filled with addicts and thugs, but it was a job. I needed the money, and I figured I could handle it. I'd worked security gigs before. I'd dealt with my fair share of drunks, addicts, and weirdos. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened that night. It was a Tuesday, around 1 a.m. The store was almost empty, with one customer every 2 or 3 hours. I was restocking the gum rack behind the counter when I heard the door chime. I glanced up and saw this woman walking in. She walked in slowly, lanky, maybe in her mid-40s, with greasy black hair tied in a messy bun. Her clothes hung off her like loose paper. She wore a puffy green jacket over a dirty tank top, and her jeans were soaked around the ankles like she'd been through dusty, muddy alleys. Her eyes were darting around, jittery but hollow, and she spread this reeking smell all around the store. From her appearance, it wasn't hard to guess that she belonged to the Skid Row area. She mumbled something I couldn't make out and wandered toward the snack aisle. I kept an eye on her. We got tweakers in all the time, usually harmless, sometimes loud, sometimes annoying. But this one felt off. She wasn't browsing, she was just grabbing random stuff. Candy bars, trail mix, even a frozen burrito, just shoving it all into her arms with this weird sense of urgency, like she was on a mission but didn't know why. After a few minutes, she approached the counter. She plopped the pile in front of me and started fishing through her pockets. They were empty. She looked up and muttered,
"I have no money, but they're hungry too."
I was confused. Who are they? She pointed toward the door.
"My friends. Can't let them starve."
I looked past her. There was no one outside, just the flicker of a busted street lamp and a pile of trash bags swaying in the wind. "Look, I can cover one item for you if you're really hungry, but I can't give you all this for free." She didn't move, just blinked twice, very slowly, like an animatronic.
"But they're hungry too."
There was a sudden shift in her voice. "Look, I'm sorry. Like I said, I can give you only one thing for free. You have to pay for the rest." Her eyes twitched, and she moved her shoulder in such a way that her bones cracked. A bad feeling rushed through me. My instincts told me something was about to happen. She suddenly dropped her jacket to the floor. Jesus. Her arms were covered in rotting patches of skin that hung like wet tissue. Deep purple veins bulged out like thick worms, and there were old needle marks, hundreds of them. Some still oozed pus. But what truly messed me up was the way she smiled, like she was proud to show me what she'd become. I took a step back instinctively. "Ma'am, I need you to leave now."
"I never leave hungry."
Saying this, she started scratching, hard, frantic, nails digging so deep into her arms that skin began to peel. She moaned softly, like she liked it. She scratched so fiercely that a flap of rotted skin ripped off. I'm not exaggerating. She literally tore off a strip of her own flesh, held it up like a slice of jerky, and put it in her mouth. She looked at me with this blank stare, chewing, blood dripping down her chin. The chewing didn't even sound right. It was wet and slow, like cartilage grinding between teeth. Her mouth opened a bit wider than it should have. I heard something snap in her jaw. I couldn't hold the bile rising in my throat. I puked. My legs went weak. All I could say was, "Jesus Christ." I grabbed the phone and called the cops. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely press the numbers. She dropped the rest of the food on the ground and began walking slowly toward the counter. Her voice turned low. Not like a whisper, but like something underneath her voice was talking too.
He said they'll come in if I feed them.
I had no idea what the hell she was talking about, but I wasn't about to wait and find out. I grabbed the fire extinguisher from behind the counter just in case things got ugly. Right as I reached the register, I heard sirens outside. She stopped. Her head twitched violently to the side like a broken doll. She looked at the door, then back at me, then let out this guttural, animalistic growl. She dropped to her knees and started slapping herself. When the cops came in, she was still hitting herself, screaming and laughing at the same time. They had to restrain her to take her away. She fought like a rabid dog the whole time, screaming about the hungry ones in the dark and how she fed them enough to last the night. They sedated her and took her to a hospital. Later that morning, a cop came back to take my statement. He said she was likely in the middle of a severe drug-induced psychosis. They ran her prints and found out she'd been arrested before, years ago, for trying to bite a woman's face in a soup kitchen bathroom, but this was the worst episode they'd seen. She's currently in a psychiatric ward. Ever since that night, I've been locking the store doors at midnight and only serving through the glass window. I don't care what corporate says. I'm not putting myself in that situation again. So this happened about 2 weeks ago, and I still get chills thinking about it. I swear I'm never stopping at a 7-Eleven that late again. It was around midnight, possibly a little later. I was on my way home from a boring party that my friend had forced me to attend. I hadn't eaten all day and was seriously craving snacks. Hot Cheetos, gummy worms, the whole shebang. So I pulled into this random 7-Eleven that was open along my route. The area was dead quiet, with barely working streetlights. I pulled over, got out, and walked in. The first thing I noticed was how quiet the store was. No music, no cashier, just the soft humming from the fridges. A handwritten sign rested on the counter. It read, "Gone for a smoke, be back soon." I felt a little relieved, figuring the guy had just stepped out for a minute. I started walking toward the candy aisle when I saw this kid standing near the freezer. He was maybe 9 or 10, skinny, pale. He was wearing an oversized hoodie and black jeans. The boy was just standing there, unmoving, staring at the ice cream freezer like he was in a trance. I kind of smiled at him, thinking, poor dude, must be waiting for his dad or something. Suddenly, he noticed me and smiled back. But I don't know. Something about it made me uncomfortable. His smile didn't reach his eyes. And those eyes? Kind of glossy with something off behind them. Have you ever seen someone smile with dead eyes? It hits different. I shrugged it off and started grabbing some snacks and drinks, acting normal. But every time I looked back, I saw him taking slow steps toward me. His eyes were following me around. At first, it was subtle, like I'd be in the chip aisle and he'd be standing 2 feet away. I'd move to the drinks, boom, he was right behind me again, not saying anything, just watching. At this point, I was like, okay, what the hell is this kid doing? Then, out of nowhere, he said, "Do you live alone?" I paused, turned slowly.
What?
He stared, didn't blink, then asked, "How often do you lock your windows?" Y'all, I'm not kidding. My whole body locked up. I tried to laugh it off, like...
Dude, that's kind of a creepy thing to ask.
He just kept staring. "Your bedroom faces the street, right?" Now I was panicking inside. I pretended to text someone on my phone, trying to make it look like someone was waiting for me, but he was still standing there, still watching. So I started walking toward the door, fast. I figured I'd just dip and hit a different store, but before I even reached the exit, I felt something wrap around my wrist. The kid hugged me from behind, and tightly. I straight up screamed and yanked myself away. His grip was too strong for a 10-year-old. My whole body went ice cold. My skin crawled like I'd just touched something foul. I turned around and shoved him back, yelling,
Back off! Did your parents not teach you manners?
His face turned red with rage, like a switch flipped inside of his head. His smile twisted into this pissed-off, twitchy expression. I swear, his eyes twitched and his jaw clenched so hard it looked painful. He didn't even say anything, just bent down, grabbed a soda can off the floor, and launched it straight at my forehead. I heard the clank before I felt it. My vision started to blur as I collapsed onto the floor, screaming. I touched my temple and immediately noticed my palms were covered in warm blood. I started crying for help. I crawled behind a shelf, half dizzy, and that freak was just standing there, breathing heavily, just watching me suffer like it was a damn game. Right then, the front door swung open and the cashier bolted in. He was a guy in his 40s who looked winded and terrified. He must have heard me screaming. He froze when he saw the kid. The boy didn't wait another second. He ran off into the dark highway. The cashier helped me get up and I kept crying.
I don't know what's wrong with that kid. He just behaved so badly and then threw this.
But the cashier cut me off with a shocked face and said, "That's not a kid. He's a dwarf. He's been lurking here for hours." My heart dropped. That explained why he had so much strength. It took everything I had to free myself from his grasp when he hugged me. The cashier was a good guy. He gave me a wet cloth to press against my bleeding head while he called the cops and paramedics. When the cops came, I was dizzy from blood loss. They sent me to the hospital and questioned the cashier for every bit of detail they could get about that terrifying man. It took 3 stitches to stop the bleeding. I stayed at the hospital for a week. The cops visited me there for follow-up questions. On the 4th day, when I was feeling a little better, the cashier came to see me. He apologized for what had happened and said he felt responsible for leaving the store unattended. I told him none of it was his fault. 2 weeks have gone by, and that man still hasn't been caught. I keep my windows locked at all times now. I even installed a doorbell camera just in case. Sometimes, when it's raining out at night with thunderstorms and lightning, I get nightmares. I see myself lying in bed, and the man is standing over me, sucking blood from my wound. I'm not a writer. I don't even consider myself a conversationalist, but I figured someone should hear this. Maybe it'll make you look around the next time you're outside after dark. I'm 50, ex-military. I've served 2 tours overseas, seen some messed up stuff, sure. However, nothing compares to the incident that occurred at that infamous 7-Eleven 2 months back. It was around 11:45 p.m. I'd just finished a long shift driving rigs and needed a smoke, bad. I pulled into a sketchy-looking 7-Eleven off some side road in downtown Phoenix. I'd been there before. The store always had this flickering red neon light that buzzed like a wasp nest. I walked in. It was empty except for this young cashier, maybe 19 or 20, standing behind the counter, looking half asleep. I gave him a polite nod, walked toward the cigarette case behind the counter, and asked for a pack of Reds. He turned to grab them when the door flew open. 2 teenage boys rushed in, hoodies up, masks on, each holding a knife. They moved fast, yelling at the cashier. "Hands up! Give us the money now!" One of them jumped the counter in a single leap. The other ran towards me, pointing the knife. I stepped back and raised both hands. All right, easy. I'm just a customer." But they weren't listening. The employee behind the counter froze. I saw his hands trembling as he tried to open the register. He was just a kid. This job probably paid peanuts, and now he had a knife in his face. I was about to say something, anything to keep it from getting worse, but I was too late. One of the robbers stabbed the employee right in the gut. No hesitation, no warning. He plunged the knife in without hesitation or warning. I'll never forget that sound. The wet gasp echoed through my mind. The guy collapsed as swiftly as a rag doll, the blood swiftly spreading beneath his uniform shirt. Something inside me snapped. I didn't think. I just moved. I grabbed the closest thing I could, a glass Snapple bottle from the fridge, and cracked it over the head of the guy coming at me. He staggered back, dazed, knife clattering to the floor. The second one, the one who stabbed the cashier, turned toward me, wild-eyed. I barely had time to brace before he lunged. He slashed at my ribs. Sharp pain exploded in my side, but I caught his wrist before he could go any deeper. Blood was pouring out of me, but adrenaline was taking over. I twisted his arm hard and slammed him into the cooler door. It shattered behind him, glass raining down. He groaned and hit the ground, but I was fading fast. The first guy had recovered. He tackled me to the floor, fists flying. I took a few hits to the face, then landed a powerful elbow to his nose. It crunched under the impact. He screamed and rolled off of me. My breathing was heavy. I could barely make it out with my blurry vision. My shirt was soaked with blood. I could feel it warm against my skin. I grabbed the shelves near me to pull myself up, then almost limped towards the exit, grabbing a broomstick. The thugs were lying on the ground, groaning in pain, but not more than me. I knew if they got up and attacked me again, I might not be able to beat them. I'm not a young buck anymore, and the moron had stabbed me deep. I jabbed the stick on the door handles of the 7-Eleven entrance, so in a way the thugs don't get the chance to escape. The poor employee was lying on the floor. I felt really bad for him as I called the cops. I leaned on the pavement, explaining the bloody mess that just happened. Everything felt cold. My ears were ringing. I remember saying out loud, "Don't fall asleep yet. Not yet. Don't you damn sleep." Luckily, the police arrived in 5 minutes. When I heard the sirens, I looked at the sky and thanked the Almighty. Red and blue lights flooded the store. Cops stormed in, weapons drawn. One of them shouted, "Drop the weapon!" But I didn't even have one. I think I said something like, "I'm the good guy," before I passed out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital, stitched up. I had multiple tubes inserted into my body, a couple broken ribs. They told me I lost a lot of blood, but I'd make it. Sadly, the young cashier didn't. He was gone before the ambulance got there. They told me the two boys, both 17, had been on a robbery spree across the city. One clerk they attacked before ended up in a coma. Another woman got her throat slit at a gas station but survived by a miracle. The cops said if I hadn't stepped in, they would have gotten away again, maybe even killed more people. They called me a hero. I didn't feel like one, though. The image of that poor kid gasping on the floor, eyes wide with shock, that haunted me. Still does. You spent years training for combat, learning to stay alert and alive, and then life throws you into a war zone when you're just trying to buy a damn cigarette. I get nightmares sometimes. These nightmares do not originate from the battlefield, from that store. The buzzing light, the gurgle the cashier made when he drowned into the lap of death, the sound of that knife going in. I still drive rigs, still stop for gas and smokes, but I don't walk into convenience stores the same way anymore. I keep my eyes sharp, my hands are loose, my back to the wall, and if I hear the door chime at night, I look first. You should too.